The jar of time. Some lessons come from textbooks, others come from a dusty front porch, an old rocking chair, and a man who doesn't say much until you're ready to really listen. This is the story of a boy named Caleb and a jar that changed the way he looked at life. Caleb Jenkins was 14. He lived in Maple Creek, a sleepy little town in the Midwest where life was slow, streets had more squirrels than cars, and people still waved at each other from across the road. But Caleb, he didn't belong to the pace of Maple Creek. He was all speed, quick feet, quicker tongue, always biking from one thing to the next. Baseball practice, video games, chores, YouTube videos, group chats. He'd skip breakfast, forget homework, and lose his phone more often than his socks. His mom would often shake her head and say, "You're chasing time like it owes you something." Caleb would grin and zip out the door. But lately, something wasn't right. He felt tired. He was always busy, but never caught up. The days blended together like spilled paint on a canvas. And even when he wasn't doing anything, he felt guilty. That's when the old man on the porch noticed. 2 houses down from Caleb's place lived Mr. Granger, a retired science teacher with white suspenders, wire glasses, and a golden retriever named Buck who moved slower than molasses in January. Most kids thought Mr. Granger was boring. Caleb thought he was ancient. But one Wednesday afternoon, after forgetting his lunch and getting yelled at for being late to practice, Caleb walked home feeling lost. He passed Mr. Granger's house. The old man was sitting on the porch, as always, sipping sweet tea and staring at the sky. But today, on the little wooden table beside him, was a large, empty glass jar. Mr. Granger, calling out, "Hey there, Caleb. You ever try to fit your whole life into one jar?" Caleb stopped, confused. No, sir." Mr. Granger, smiling. "Then have a seat. Let's try it together." Mr. Granger reached down and pulled out a small canvas sack. Out came several large river rocks, smooth and gray, the size of a baseball. He placed them one by one into the jar until they nearly reached the top. "This here," he said, tapping the jar, "is your life. These rocks, they're the big stuff. Your family, your health, your faith, your purpose." Next, he pulled out a handful of pebbles from a metal coffee can. He poured them in gently, and they slid between the cracks of the big rocks. These pebbles, school, baseball, your buddies, hobbies, things you love but that come after the big stuff? Caleb nodded slowly. Then came the sand, fine white play sand from an old mason jar. It trickled in like a soft whisper, filling the last visible gaps. Now that's the everyday noise. Text messages, scrolling TikTok, chores, junk food, TV, all the little things. And finally, from a glass jug, he poured in water, cold and clear. It seeped into every last space. And this, Caleb, this is the nonsense. Gossip, worry, pointless arguments, the scroll and forget stuff. Mr. Granger leaned back and looked at Caleb. "Now tell me, what would have happened if I poured in the water first?" Caleb thought for a moment. "There wouldn't be room for the rocks." Mr. Granger, smiling. "Exactly. Fill your life with junk first, and you run out of space for what matters most. And trust me, son, once that jar's full, you don't get another one." Caleb didn't say anything for a while. He just stared at the jar, then at Mr. Granger. He'd never seen life broken down like that. "So, I've been filling mine backward?" Mr. Granger. "Most people do, until one day they look up and wonder why they're empty." The next morning, Caleb didn't grab his phone first thing. He helped his mom with breakfast, walked Buck, Mr. Granger's dog, and took his time packing for school. He wrote a sticky note that said, "Rocks first," and stuck it on his bedroom mirror. That day he smiled more, argued less, and even remembered to call his grandma. Over the next few weeks, Caleb returned to Mr. Granger's porch again and again. One day the old man gave him a smaller jar, with only 3 rocks beside it. "You only get to pick 3 today, Caleb. Choose wisely." Caleb thought hard. He chose talking to his little sister before school instead of ignoring her, finishing his English paper without procrastinating, and taking Buck on a long walk at sunset. He left out video games. He skipped the gossip group chat, and that night he felt lighter. Years passed. Caleb grew up. He went to college, then came back to Maple Creek as a guidance counselor. Not for the money, but to give kids what he once almost missed. On his desk sat a jar, a clear glass, one filled with rocks, pebbles, sand, and just a little water at the top. He never explained it unless someone asked, and when they did, he'd smile and say, "Let me show you something Mr. Granger once showed me." Before Mr. Granger passed, Caleb visited him one last time. The porch was quieter, the tea was cooler, but the jar was still there, sitting beside him like an old friend. "I tried to fill it right, Mr. Granger," Caleb said softly. Mr. Granger, grinning, "Then you lived well, son, because the jar is never about how much you fill. It's about what you fill it with. So when life starts feeling like it's moving too fast, when you're drowning in noise, guilt, or exhaustion, take a deep breath, grab your own jar, and ask yourself, am I placing the rocks first? Because once the jar is full, you don't get another one.